What's up, guys? Part-Time Gamer Dad here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking about my top 5 personal King of the Ring winners of all time. Now, because this is my list and my list alone, know that it is my opinion and you were entitled to your own opinion. You can disagree with me. Let me know down in the comments below where you disagree. Let me know what your top 5 are overall. And also, keep it civil in the comments. Let's be nice. We can disagree and still be good people. So, starting off at number 5, I know this is one that's going to be very controversial. A lot of people will disagree with me on placing him so low. A lot of people would have him at number 1, and that's okay. Number 5 for me is Bret the Hitman Hart. He is the only King of the Ring winner to win multiple King of the Ring tournaments. And so for that alone, I've got to put him at number 5. He's also had some notable King of the Ring matches, and there's been some really great performances from him in the tournaments. It's more what he did with it afterwards that is holding him back from my top spot. He didn't turn that into a title program right away. He didn't have a career-defining feud. He feuded with Jerry Lawler as a result of a win, and that's not necessarily the most positive feud in the history of the Hitman. The Kiss My Foot match, it's awful, and I look at those wins and say, great for him, cool that he was the only one to repeat. But you look at what his brother did in '94 to feud with him for the title, and that was a more significant victory and turnaround of what he accomplished in tandem. So I can't put Bret Hart higher than 5, but definitely worthy of a shout out because being the only person to win it more than once is massive and a nice feather in his cap. At number 4, I have Kurt Angle, who won the King of the Ring like 7 months after debuting. So massive, quick push to the moon. We'll be talking about somebody else who had a similar trajectory later. But Kurt Angle used that and went into SummerSlam in a triple threat with the 2 biggest stars at the time because Stone Cold Steve Austin was actually out injured in The Rock and Triple H in an incredibly memorable WWE Championship triple threat match that began with Triple H pedigreeing Kurt Angle on the announce table. The table gave way, it concussed Kurt, and he had to be taken away. And then obviously, like, all of that led to Kurt winning the WWE Championship right before the 1-year anniversary of his WWE debut. So he obviously utilized that victory and propelled himself into the main event scene in a very, very good way, in a way that he beat the top star at the time, The Rock, and he held on to that title in the midst of some of the most memorable feuds of the Attitude Era. We obviously saw him defend that in the 6-man Hell in a Cell match at Armageddon against The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H and The Undertaker and Rikishi, the odd man out. And this was kind of at the peak of the Attitude Era, like really firing on all cylinders. And they trusted him with the WWE Championship because he had it all. He had the character, he had the athleticism, he had the inner-ring awareness, and he really came into this like a seasoned vet. And I really think when you look at somebody who propelled himself from a mid-carder to a main eventer really seamlessly, there's nobody that sticks out in my mind as clearly as Kurt Angle, because if you look at the rest of his career, you never associated him with mid-card ever again. He was always that main event guy. He was always that main event guy. So Kurt Angle is my number 4 King of the Ring. Speaking of guys who really came in and made an immediate impact, the quickest turnaround from debut to King of the Ring winner was Brock Lesnar in 2002, and he is my number 3 on this list. And I think a big reason that he's number 3 is not even just how quickly he won King of the Ring, but also what he did with that. Very similar to Kurt Angle, he went and he faced The Rock at SummerSlam for The Rock's WWE Championship, albeit it was one-on-one versus a triple threat. But Brock Lesnar did something Kurt Angle couldn't do, which was defeat The Rock at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship, becoming at the time the youngest WWE champion of all time and really cementing himself as the face of WWE at that time. It would have stayed the face of WWE had he not left in 2004. So I think when we talk about Brock Lesnar, we really undersell his King of the Ring victory and how important that was. Obviously had an incredible feud over the summer with Rob Van Dam, who faced him in the finals of that. I think Rob Van Dam at some point should have won King of the Ring or Royal Rumble. Really love his work and incredible superstar and wrestler. But what Brock Lesnar was able to transition into with that win is huge, because he was already presented as a main eventer. There was no doubt that he was going to be winning the championship. But to win it that quickly, to win King of the Ring that quickly, to be the champion, to defeat The Rock at the second biggest show of the year at that time was huge. And I think we undervalue his King of the Ring victory. So, and also really appreciate that it was not like here's the throne, here's a crown, here's a scepter. Like the presentation of Brock Lesnar for King of the Ring was exactly what it needed to be. A man who won the tournament and then turned around and used the privilege of that victory in a way that anybody who had a good head on the shoulders would. So Brock Lesnar at number 3 for me, super easy choice. At number 2, I have Stone Cold Steve Austin. And when you think about King of the Ring, you automatically, immediately think about Stone Cold Steve Austin. He is somebody who benefited more from King of the Ring than maybe anybody else in the history of professional wrestling. And actually, he wasn't even supposed to be, most of you already know this, he wasn't supposed to be the King of the Ring that year. The only reason he became King of the Ring was because, supposedly it was because of the curtain call with Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Triple H. Triple H was the only one that they could punish because Shawn Michaels was the champion. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were already leaving. So they took the King of the Ring victory away from Triple H, gave it to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who won it in a pretty meh match against Jake the Snake Roberts, but utilizing Jake's faith at that time and what he was going through and the demons he was fighting, and saying, Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass, and turning that on its head and creating a superstar that could turn the tide of the Monday Night Wars in the favor of the WWF long term, immediately skyrockets him towards the top of this list. But you also look like what he did over the course of the next year. He went on and he had an incredible feud with the Hitman that culminated in arguably the greatest WrestleMania match in history, in that submission match with Ken Shamrock as the special referee, where Bret Hart has him in the sharpshooter and the blood's pouring down his face and he passes out. Austin won't tap, right? And then of course that leads all to Austin winning the championship at WrestleMania 14 from Shawn Michaels, throwing the Attitude Era on his back, throwing WWF on his back, having a feud with Vince McMahon, and turning the tide of the Monday Night War. And then without that King of the Ring victory, I don't know if WWE exists today in the way it does. So that's massive. I still think WCW implodes, but maybe not as big as it is because of the way that Stone Cold Steve Austin really propelled himself in his career in a different trajectory based off of that one win and that one promo alone. So for all those reasons, I got to give him number 2. But then you're probably saying to yourself, dude, if Austin's your number 2, who's your number 1? Well, you're going to hate me. But it's Booker T. Now, I know, everybody's probably thinking to himself, that is the most ridiculous number 1 for a King of the Ring list. But hear me out. Who did more with the King of the Ring, post King of the Ring, than Booker T? And I think there's an argument to be made for the guy I have at my number 6, which was Macho Man Randy Savage. He did great stuff with it. I really wanted to put him on this list. I just couldn't deny Bret Hart. But you look at what Booker T did. He changed his entire gimmick. The thing with Macho Man is he actually stayed Macho Man, just in a King Macho Man. Booker T went from a hardened vet from the streets of Houston, part of a tag team with Harlem Heat, and a guy that the people really connected with, especially people who grew up in the hood and appreciated what he was able to do and pull himself out of a bad situation. And he really connected with the fans on that from a charisma standpoint, and to just restrict all that and then become this really pompous, arrogant, high class king with an awful accent of a British person. And it was amazing. He had a court with William Regal and Finlay. That was amazing. And Queen Charmel was amazing. And he wouldn't even call himself King Booker. He was King Booker. And then who was the fastest to ever turn their King of the Ring victory into a world championship reign? It's not actually Brock, it's Booker T, because he beat Rey Mysterio for the world championship in July. He didn't wait till SummerSlam. He beat him a month early. So when you look at who did the most with the actual King of the Ring victory, who completely changed direction in a way that was healthy for their career, and is something we still talk about today. We all still talk about King Booker, right? Like that is a notable part of Booker T's career, and who also utilized that privilege to win the world title faster than anybody else. Booker T at a number one. Dude, I feel like I can back it up. I want to hear how you could argue against Booker T at number one, and how you could ever say that gimmick of King Booker is not the best gimmick to come out of the King of the Ring, aside from Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, guys, those are my top 5 King of the Ring winners of all time. Let me know down in the comments below your top 5. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And I will see you very soon.